This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
Let's get ready to rumble!
Yes, we are back and we are live on Pulse 95 Radio. Shout out to everyone who is tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, even chilling at home watching us live on YouTube. Instagrammers, I see you on there as well, doing your thing, and I can't wait to share this show with you. Now, more than ever, the importance of nutrition has been magnified as the best form of medication. I agree as well. And I think that's important that we bring someone that knows a lot about that stuff so we consistently look to better ourselves in finding the right balance to achieve our goals. But they only become achievable when we make our training, nutrition, recovery a habit. Now, I'm delighted to have Jeff Zorn on the show, and someone who is... Man, I mean, if you have a chat with this guy, you just know, man. You just know you're in for a treat. And I'm bringing him on the show today for you guys to ask him all the questions regarding nutrition. Oh, man, we're diving into sugar. We're diving into weight loss. We're diving into medication, using nutrition as medication. All that and more on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95. Love you, Mom.
Oh, he loves the fire then! What a goal!
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
Let's get ready to rumble!
Yes, we are back and we are live on Pulse 95 Radio. Shout out to everyone who is tuned in on the gram on 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, or our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority. Man, get ready for the show because this show is going to be on fire. We have Jeff Zorn in the building. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well, my man. And we met, how long ago did we meet?
Approximately 2 months ago.
Yeah?
Yeah. 1.5 months ago.
It feels like longer. I'm not going to lie. The conversations are always entertaining with you, and you talk facts, and I love that, and especially about nutrition. And at a critical stage right now where the whole world is definitely aware of the importance of nutrition as medication.
Right.
One of those things that probably counters that is sugar.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I've heard of the sugar roller coaster before.
Yeah.
But I think you know a little bit more about that. Tell me.
Well, the sugar roller coaster is almost exactly like it sounds. It's a piece of information that's very powerful for people to understand, and it really helps with people's what we would in this segment we'll call a weight loss journey. Mm-hmm. But we're going to look at body composition a little bit later. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that happens is, presumably, when you wake up in the morning, hopefully you've been fasting for at least 8 hours. Mm-hmm. So this establishes as a baseline your fasting blood sugar level. Yeah. Now, the thing that we want to focus on is breakfast. Mm-hmm. It's the most important meal of the day. Mm-hmm. We hear that all the time, but it's just something that gets thrown around, and we don't really know exactly what people mean by that. Does that mean that we should always eat breakfast? You know, there's a lot of talk about intermittent fasting right now, people delaying their breakfast. But the most important part about breakfast is the first thing that you put in your body in the morning is going to establish your neurotransmitters for the rest of the day. And that may sound a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try and simplify that for everybody now. So if we were to go and ask an audience member, you know, what does your typical breakfast look like? Yeah. What do you think that they would say?
Well, either eggs, cereal, oats, something along those lines. I mean, I'm biased, but
right. So I'll just throw out some things that I typically hear.
Go and tell me.
Toast, jam, honey, juice, fruit, pancakes. An emphasis on the word cake. Right. You're going to throw some maple syrup on that. Maybe it's an acai bowl, or you have cereals. Yeah. There's the frosted kind, you know, the one with added sugar. You know, even to some extent oatmeal, yogurts, and it all basically equates to sugar. Right. So now we've talked about you're at a fasting level, blood sugar is stable. This is the point in the day where you should be ready to tackle things. You're not diverting any energy for digestion or processes like that. So now you have the first meal, you put a bunch of sugar into your body.
What does sugar do to your body? after fasting?
Well, the first thing that you can notice is it's rapidly absorbed, and the thing that it's going to do is then increase your blood sugar. We'll get into this a little bit later, but that's a toxic process. Your body has a protection mechanism to control toxic blood sugar, which is to release a hormone called insulin.
Right.
Now that's going to cue up fat storage. But in the process of, so we just imagine this graph, it's very flat, you just woke up, now you put all this sugar in your body, it's very rapidly digested. You know that when you put food in your mouth, it tastes sweet. That's already the saliva, the enzyme amylase is now breaking that down. So now you start to get this sugar spike. Blood sugar starts climbing up to the top of this roller coaster. And now you've got insulin trailing behind that, making sure that blood sugar doesn't get too toxic. And then you're going to go on the drop. And that's what happens. Your blood sugar crashes now because of this amount of insulin that's been produced, and now you go below your fasting insulin level. This is where people get tired, hangry. At this stage in the game, you don't really notice it, but you may think like, okay, I've just had my breakfast. It's been about 40 minutes. I need a little pick-me-up. I need a coffee. You put some sugar in it. You put some milk in there. Maybe you grab an energy drink, something like that. So you're using something to get you out of this dip where blood sugar levels have now gone below your fasting level. So you'll continue on this path. Maybe you grab a biscuit or a cookie or something. Somebody's got a little chocolate bar or something. You pick that up. And so you're seeing these continuous spikes in blood sugar and insulin. Now, the one that's going to be more relatable to a lot of people is now when we get to lunchtime.
Right.
So when lunchtime hits and people are saying, oh, what are you going to get? Is it going to be a rice-heavy meal? Is it going to be a pasta-heavy meal? Is it going to be something with a lot of bread and stuff like that? And what you'll see is people complete these meals, and then you'll start to feel really tired, and you'll see people slumping in their desk. I've seen people fall asleep snoring at their desks.
Right.
But this is known as the insulin coma.
Okay.
So once this process has gone on long enough, hopefully some people in the audience are sort of checking that box. Yeah, when I have pasta or if you have a biryani or something with a lot of rice or something, you notice that major crash.
Right.
And there's really only two ways out of it. Number one, you have to have a nap, you have to go to sleep, which you see as the natural response. And the other one is just to refeed and get that blood sugar level back up. But
does the nap reset what your body's been through? Correct.
Yeah. So this is basically a period of fasting, and for anyone that has kids, this is one of the times that it's most obvious. You see, like, for example, if you've ever been to like a kid's birthday party or something like that, there's treats, there's celebration, there's all these things. Kids are having juice, maybe even soda, cupcakes, things of that nature. Their blood sugar goes up. You see them hyperactive. They're elated. They're running around. And then what'll happen is they'll get tired. A fight will break out. They don't want to share. You see their attitude is starting to go a bit down. They're starting to cry. And then you have this choice where, what do I do? We're gonna either we have to put them in a timeout. They got to have a nap, or you have to continue feeding them.
Are there alternates for tricking the body and the mind for sugar? And you know why I said that? Because when you were talking, I'm one of those people as well. People were like, yep, that's me. Yep, I'll probably have that. Yes, this as well. And then I'll probably have the rice meal or the pasta meal. Are there things that when our body is actually settled and stable, then it wakes up and it craves something that you would say, that's pretty good for your body, and at the same time you wouldn't feel like you're missing out on the sugar aspect?
Yeah, so there's ways to slow down the absorption process. So, for example, you could have, let's say, an acai bowl.
Yeah.
But with this acai bowl, what you're going to do is you're going to add in some fiber. So you're going to put some spinach in there. So this is something that's slower to digest. You're going to mix that with something like coconut milk. It's got a high fat content. Basically, what you're doing is causing a buffer. So that, like I said, the digestion of sugar starts in the mouth. So what you want to do is mix it in with a bunch of other things that take much, much longer to digest. Again, fats and proteins will be digested further down in the digestive system. So this will help slow the release of sugar. So the issue is that we're getting too much sugar too frequently, and that's the insulin roller coaster in a nutshell. When you draw it on a graph, it literally looks like a cartoon of a roller coaster with just these insane climbs and then these crazy drops. And that's basically, hopefully, what people will realize. This is what's happening to your energy and what's happening to your mood. If you've ever been hangry, if you've ever been really sleepy at your desk, then that's the culprit.
Hey, listen, I told you I was going to spoil you, and that's the first segment done already. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Enjoy the music, folks.
Oh, he loves the fire, then what's a goal?
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Adori. I'm your host of Everything Sport, International, Local. Whew, what a first segment already. We're just getting warm. If we were talking about roller coaster, we're on the way up now. Okay, so Jeff is in the building. What's up, Jeff? Hey. How you doing?
I'm still here.
Okay, good. I'm glad. So, right, we were talking about the sugar roller coaster beforehand and what it does to the body. But, why do people struggle to sidestep it?
Well, there's two things. So what I want to get into is the effect that sugar has on the body.
Yeah.
So first of all, sugar is an addictive substance. It's actually one of the most addictive drugs that there is, and it's up there with things like caffeine, cigarettes, and alcohol. Mm-hmm. So one of the way that sugar can modulate your behavior is, first of all, by changing your palate, or what we would say your taste buds. So this is a really interesting experiment that everybody can do at home. What you do is you get a piece of fruit. You get something like a strawberry or something that's generally sweet. And what you'll do is you'll take a bite of the strawberry first thing in the morning and you'll think, that's delicious. It tastes sweet. It tastes like a strawberry. Mm-hmm. You wait about 5 minutes and then you open up your favorite soda. Not a diet soda, something that's actually got sugar in it, and then you have a sip of that, and you'll say, "Oh wow, that tastes sweet." Okay, cool. The next day, you reverse the process. So you wake up in the morning, now you have a sip of your favorite sugar-laden soda, and you'll say, "Wow, that tastes really sweet." And then you wait a couple minutes, and then you have a bite of the strawberry. Mm-hmm. What does the strawberry taste like now? Tastes like almost nothing, because the way that our body works is on a negative feedback loop. So whatever increment of sugar that you've had, you need something that's better than that the next time. And that is this sort of dopamine or drug-seeking behavior. So you see that in Instagram or something. You need more likes, you need more follows, you need more stimulus from this drug. So that's one part of it. The second part is the way that it affects our brain chemistry, and that's a little bit more complicated through this reward hormone that we have, dopamine.
Why is it a reward hormone? I'm interested to hear you call it that.
Well, there's certain behaviors that people need to engage in order to be successful. Two of those things, the most common one is going to be food. Eating food. People find enjoyment from food. That's good, because we need a mechanism to encourage people to eat, because if you don't have that, what's the incentive for human beings to eat food? Well, there wouldn't be one.
Absolutely.
And the other highly natural one is sex for reproduction. So again, I'm sure we'll skip that part, but there needs to be an internal reward system to incentivize a certain behavior. And so a lot of this we'll get into is about sort of deferred gratification.
Right.
And you see these traits that they observe among children, where they put some marshmallows out. Another scientific experiment, you put some marshmallows out. You're not putting pieces of broccoli out, because if you don't eat this for 5 minutes, and you'll come back, all the broccoli is going to be there.
Yeah.
But something which is enticing, and you see that there is a reason for people to grab that. There's an incentive for them, and that comes from dopamine.
Right. Now, when it comes down to habits, a lot of people talk about building habits, and sugar is one of those things that you almost have to reverse to get yourself out of that habit.
Right.
How do we modify our habits?
Well, this is one of the trickiest issues, and there's a very, we have to see that the world is set up. Sugar is ubiquitous, and specifically added sugar. So I was saying, we can slow down the absorption rate of sugar by adding in other components, protein, fats, fiber, things of that nature. But the problem is we have certain things where we're just adding sugar, and that makes it ubiquitous. One of the benefits is it acts much like salt, which is used generally to preserve things. So the shelf life of sugary things is very long. So this is something that you can grab on the go. A lot of this is related to lifestyle, and I know we're going to get into lifestyle disease after that, but people aren't waking up super early to get their workouts in, to then get to the office early and do all these things. They stayed up too late, they ordered takeout, they ate late, so they were digesting their food. It interrupted their REM sleep. When they wake up in the morning, they're really tired. They need that. They snoozed a bunch of times. They need that coffee to get them out of bed. I need something to on the go. I'll just eat it in the car. It's going to be some type of bar with added sugar. It's going to be a little yogurt with that's highly processed, things like that. So these things are just absolutely everywhere. They're very cheap economically, and the temptation is everywhere. When you go in the office, somebody's not going to be, come over to my desk and let's have this piece of T-bone steak, or I did a really nice Eggs Benedict or something. No, they're going to have some cookies and some grab and go stuff, and it's going to be predominantly sugar. So this is what we're exposed to.
How do we trick the mind?
There is no way. There's literally no way. So this goes back to the experiments that they did on starting with like children 20 years ago with the deferred gratification. Those people who can defer gratification will be successful in the long run, and those people that cannot defer gratification will make poorer choices that will have negative impacts on their life and will be seen to be as less successful. So it's very important. This is an addiction, and it's important to have strategies to help control the negative aspects that this can have in your life.
Mustafa's asking here, he's got a question for you. He said, what about protein bars as snacks? What's your take on that?
If you cannot eat protein from whole sources, and you feel like you're going to be deficient in protein for the day, then grab yourself a bar. But it's very important to look at the source of that bar, because again, it's a bar. It's going to be highly processed. It's not going to be necessarily healthy for you. But if your goal is more toward getting that protein requirement in, I would say go for it, but it is a supplement. Do not treat it as a meal replacement. You need to be getting your food from whole natural sources, because what we'll talk about is, when it comes to inflammation and things like that, what are these foods that are pro-inflammatory? Everybody says, hey, there's anti-inflammatory foods, but nobody talks about the pro-inflammatory foods. So if you're talking about whey protein, casein, these dairy issues, people know about lactose intolerant, which is the sugar which is found in milk, but they don't necessarily talk about our inability to break down whey protein, casein protein that cause all types of digestive issues, bloating, gas, acne, all these other things. So
absolutely. Terry here. Jeff, I'm a meal plan convert, fussy eater, and Jeff's food is epic. He has more eating stuff I've never had before. So there's a quick, nice little reference for you there.
Thank you.
Masoud saying, during the time of fasting, does our sugar levels decrease? And if so, then how does it increase the sugar levels after fasting? That's what he was asking. I'm not sure if you got that.
Yeah. So as I said, anytime you sleep, you are fasting. You are not eating. So your blood sugar level is going to return to what's called your fasting insulin level or blood sugar level. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just what happens while you sleep. Now, normally what would happen is in the morning you have something called a circadian rhythm. It means like approximately a day. It's an internal clock. So you'll wake up, and the process to wake you up is the stimulation of a stress hormone called cortisol, and this will gradually start to wake your body up, and then you're going to start releasing some stored glycogen, and your blood sugar is going to gradually rise. And that's how you start your day.
Excellent. When we said earlier that almost the nap is the perfect way to kind of reset your levels.
Yeah.
How long can a nap be to reset your levels?
It depends literally on how much sugar you've had or how much food that you're eating. For all the American listeners out there and for the Canadians, Thanksgiving just came around for Canadians, and it's coming up for Americans. This is one meal where people, you sit around the table, you pile that on, and then everybody goes for a nap where they're watching American football, and people are passing out on the couch. So it could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so there you have it. Like, if you wake up in the morning and you've dug in for the sweets and you thought, oh no, I need to switch this up. You get a quick nap in and then you can start again almost. I love that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Again, as I told you guys, we are spoiling you today with Jeff Zorn, who's in the building, and we'll be right back after this. See you in a bit, folks.
Oh, he lifts the fire and what a goal!
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything's international. And look, I was just thinking of I'll tell you what I was thinking of. I wanted to shout out Sergey and I wanted to shout you out, and it just messed up my whole line. Should I do that again? Okay, cool. Shout out to everyone who's tuning in. Thank you very much for your questions, by the way. Fantastic questions. And even during the break, while you guys are enjoying the fantastic music we've got here, I'm asking him the questions that you guys are throwing on the Instagram live at Omar Alduri. Jeff, before we took a break, again, you threw in those words, man. You be dropping those lines, and then we have to go into a break. You spoke about inflammatory foods and what it does to the body and how to kind of reverse that. Can you tell me more about what's good for your body and how do we reduce inflammation, especially with what we put it through?
Right. So let's just keep it with sugar for a second, because if you ask anyone from the audience, have you heard about anti-inflammatory foods? Generally, the answer is going to be correct. Like, yeah, we've heard of that before. Fish oil, cod liver oil, something like that. That's an anti-inflammatory food.
Yeah.
But this does now raise a second question, which is, well, if there are such things as anti-inflammatory foods, are there also such things as pro-inflammatory foods? And one of the worst ones is sugar. So, as we were saying before, blood sugar is toxic. This is why we have to, our body secretes insulin, and that is a fat storage hormone. It converts toxic blood sugar into fat. So I say sugar is damaging, and people are obviously a little bit biased. They're addicted to sugar. They don't want to say there's anything wrong with it. But if we go through, what does sugar do? Well, first of all, let's start with your teeth. Everybody knows it's going to cause cavities. It's going to feed pathogenic bacteria in your mouth. You're going to get cavities. You're going to get root canals. They've linked the health of your mouth to the health of your heart. The second thing it's going to do is feed pathogenic bacteria in your gut, so that you could get bacterial overgrowths, that disrupt your ability to digest food. All these other things. It damages arteries, organs, and muscle tissue. And like we said, this is the reason that your body has to create this hormone insulin to store the excess sugar as fat. Now, we spoke about diabetes before. So diabetes is sort of this branching metabolic disease, which is a lifestyle disease. I hate the word diabetes. I love it in Arabic. It's called sukar, I believe, which basically means sugar.
Sugar, yeah.
Right. So I would like to make a proclamation, which is we're no longer going to call it diabetes type 2. We're going to call it I eat too much sugar too frequently. And if you just keep that in mind the whole time, you know exactly how to get around this. So sugar is a major one, but there's also several other ones that we need to look into. One of those things is specifically gluten, which is found in several grains. It comes from the Latin word for glue. It's basically a sugar which is wrapped in a neurotoxin. It damages the lining of your gut, things like that. One of the other things that happens with monocrop things like grain and corn and all that other stuff is it's covered in pesticides. If you don't wash those pesticides off, if they're genetically modified, you can end up with that in your stomach. Again, this is going to start affecting your gut microbiome. It's going to put that off, and then you're going to start getting more inflammation there.
Yeah, Mustafa was asking, in your opinion, what's the best pre-workout and post-workout meals, if you had to throw in a couple of options?
So this is... Everybody tries to optimize what's going on. And we don't need to take a microscopic view of like what's my pre-workout. There's even something called intra-workout nutrition, where people will be taking various amounts of types of sugar to start the recovery and making sure that they're getting the maximum performance out of their lift, followed by the post-workout meal. But literally, like if we look at it, it's a very what's the base of the pyramid? What's the change that I can make that is going to have the largest percentile change on my life? So that's going to be removing all these pro-inflammatory foods. That's going to be making sure I get a good night's sleep. And that's going to be doing an appropriate amount of exercise, not too little so that I don't get any stimulation, but not too much so that I'm able to recover the next day, because otherwise, part of that workout is just wasted, and what you'll end up doing is getting injured. And everybody knows that when you get injured, your progress completely goes out the window. So if you were really great for 6 weeks, everyone's rooting for you, but when you get injured and now you're going to be out for 2 months, 6 weeks, a year, whatever it is, the more serious injuries that people can get, it really damages your progress. So I would caution people, don't focus too much on pre-workout meals, post-workout meals, but just to answer the question, it's going to be some easily digestible protein and some easily digestible carb. So I would recommend something like white rice, very easy to digest. It's partially chewed for you versus something like a baked potato. And then the second thing is going to be some type of animal-based protein, some like minced beef or minced lamb or something like that, versus something like a steak, which you're going to have to cut up and chew, and it can be a little bit taxing to get through.
And you mentioned about training and about these kind of drinks, and a lot of people get confused about the whole electrolytes, sodium, salt. Just when you said that, it triggered me off, because for when we were growing up, there was the Gatorades and the Powerades and all these kind of things, and then people are like, no, they're full of sugar, stay away from them. But then people are like, no, you need the sugar, and then you need the sodium, and you need the electrolytes. Exactly. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so they're absolutely fantastic, but they're not to be used in the way that they're advertised. So for example, like you see sort of like pro athletes, and they're sitting on the bench waiting to go, they're playing in like the World Series of Baseball, or they're playing in the FIFA World Cup or something, and they're having a small diluted amount of this sugar, because again, you don't want to get blood sugar too high followed by the crash, but you need to stay hydrated, and that is a huge thing. We're not all necessarily athletes, but we're all living in the UAE where we're sweating a lot, and we need to replace our sodium. So you'll see this, it's very bizarre. These water companies they'll start new marketing techniques where they'll say, this is a sodium-free water. Yeah. Well, why would I want a sodium-free water when I know that when I sweat, I'm releasing sodium from my body? So it's very important to not only replenish the water, but if you're not replenishing your sodium, you're still getting dehydrated. Yeah. So again, for example, I just drink water, purified water, and then I add my own salt back into it, because it's absolutely necessary to maintain hydration levels. And again, when you talk about top line things, what's the best pre-workout or something? Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you have salt in your water. Make sure if you want to have a bit of caffeine or something like that, that's going to improve your concentration, contractile force, all that other stuff. But yeah, let's focus less on the coffee as a diuretic and more on staying hydrated, because we know just a 2% level of dehydration can lead to like a 30% drop in your performance.
Absolutely. Mustafa was saying about espresso and Turkish coffees earlier. Marwan's actually jumped on here as well, and he said, "Sorry, I've just joined, and a very interesting conversation. What's his take on BCAAs, and when is the right time to actually consume them?"
I've taken BCAAs in the past. Again, if we've already established that having sugar for breakfast is highly detrimental, it's highly addictive, and that basically it gets you on this roller coaster where you're constantly craving more sugar. So then, this is kids are great to watch, because, like, for example, if you have a child, and let's say you just gave him a snack, you gave him a fruit roll-up or some Gatorade or something like that, and now it's time for dinner, and you say, okay, I need you to eat your broccoli. No.
Yeah.
Because we've already looked at the example of the Coca-Cola and the strawberry. They've just had the Coca-Cola, and now you're giving them the strawberry. They don't even want the strawberry.
Yeah.
So how is it that you're going to convince them to eat vegetables? How are you going to convince them to eat protein? But getting that protein in naturally, that's the way to go. BCA is great because, again, there's no digestion. There's some scientific literature that says that it's recommended and that it's a good way to get in your protein. Again, not a lot of digestion. So you could take this pre-workout or first thing when you wake up in the morning to make sure you get those neurotransmitters going. These are going to be building blocks for your hormones, neurotransmitters. It's going to, give you the ability to concentrate, focus, and give you that slow rise in energy. We don't want to climb up that roller coaster and then go for the drop. We just need a stable increase over the course of the day that allows us to take care of what we want to do.
Fantastic. I mean, what the health, man? I told you it's going to be good. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Enjoy, folks. I'll see you in a bit.
Oh, he lifts the fire and what's a goal!
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
Sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. It's almost full time on the Halftime Show. And if you have been tuning in, what a show. And if you haven't, you're kicking yourself for not tuning in. Don't worry, catch all of our episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud if you like a podcast. Or even head over to our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio. Thanks to Super Mario and Sama who put up all of our episodes on YouTube. Okay, cool. Right. So, Jeff, listen. The hour's almost up, man. Let's get a couple more questions in. One thing is, in terms of, a lot of people seem to have the common goal of weight loss, and during the break we were talking about what kind of weight are you losing, how it's affecting dehydration, but one thing we don't really talk about enough, and especially for females as well as males, is muscle mass and how important that is to achieving health, like optimal health, rather than just losing weight. Right. Tell me more about that.
Right. So this is something that I see with my clients a lot. Everyone comes in and they say, my goal is to lose weight. And I always say, that's great. What kind of weight would you like to lose? And then they're a little bit stumped. So body mass is basically comprised of a few different segments. One of them is your bones, so your skeletal mass. If you reduce weight from your bones, it's called osteoporosis. That's a disease where you lose bone density and then you end up breaking your limbs. It's very painful. So we can all establish that we don't want to do that. The second major component is water. So again, we talked about dehydration. 2% loss of your hydration levels can lead to a 30% dip in your performance in sports activities. And as we were talking about with like UFC fighters cutting weight, people like Habib damaging their livers, having to pull out of fights, things like that. So again, not something that's healthy, nor is it sustainable. If you reduce your lean muscle mass, healthy lean tissue, that's basically a result of starvation. You'll see that people that are starving, you can see their bones and things like that. And one of the things that also triggers is osteoporosis. Your organs, we do not want to lose any organ weight.
Absolutely
that's not good.
Not.
And so the last thing that we've got is excess fat mass. So everybody's goal, no matter if they're a man or a woman, no matter what stage in their life they are, our goal is uniformly to reduce our excess body fat mass while increasing our lean muscle mass. So basically, if we were to rephrase this, like what are we supposed to focus on? There are a lot of unhealthy ways to lose weight out there. You see all these detoxes, calorie restriction, things like that. They have the opposite of the intended effect. And if we look at evolutionary biology, it's never going to work. So, for example, if you're in a calorie restricted state for a long period of time, our bodies are selected evolutionarily to resist starvation. That means we're going to reduce our lean muscle mass, and we're going to keep our body fat percentage. So we're now doing the opposite of what we're trying to do, and it's not sustainable. You cannot maintain a calorie deficit indefinitely. And again, we've seen that the thing that's triggering excess body fat is not necessarily calories, but how much sugar we're eating. So what we should really be focusing on is reducing systemic inflammation, this is a goal that everybody can get behind. I want to feel young. I want to feel vital.
Yeah.
I don't want pains in my low back or my knees or anything like that. I want to be able to hop out of bed and do those things that I need to do, whether it's, running around as a mom, chasing after her kids and all that stuff, or if it's an athlete, playing football or something like that. You want to reduce inflammation, reduce the main driver of disease, increase your healthy lean mass, because that's going to increase your basal metabolic rate, and that is going to naturally burn more body fat, which is exactly why we carry it. So we need to embrace lean muscle mass. And again, you think about this guy's a bodybuilder, and he's getting ready for a show, and he's trying to increase his lean muscle mass. And this is a pregnant woman, and she's in her second trimester. They're both doing exactly the same thing. They're building new tissue. One is building a baby in her womb, and the other guy is, adding pectorals and lats and quads and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's the same process. Increasing lean muscle mass, reducing excess body fat. And we always say excess because with women, there's a certain amount of body fat that is required for healthy fertility activities, things of that nature. So
listen, you deserve a round of applause for that, my man. And also, someone just said now, Mustafa's just said now, hey, listen, we need a second episode with him, so that's fantastic. I will try and get him on. I mean, it's been put out there already on our Instagram at Omar Al-Duri saying we need another episode with you, man. We've almost reached full time on the halftime show, but before I let you go, Jeff, please do let us know where we can follow you.
Sure, it's you can find me on Instagram, at Nourishing Dubai, and you can also check out my website, which is www.nourishingdubai.com.
Fantastic! Thank you very much. First episode on the radio.
Yeah, first time on the radio.
How was it?
It was amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
The time flew, and it was really comfortable.
My pleasure. Fantastic. Remember, you catch every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, 3 to 4 on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95. Peace and love, folks. Have a blessed day. We're out.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories. Pulse